we stopped at this row last week. I'm making a little swatch to show you how the blanket is worked, as I already completed the initial the prototype. So for today's section, we'll start with the first row, chain 2. I had a chain before, and we're working half double crochet in each stitch across. It's crucial that you start the first row of this section on the right side. If you've added more rows or reduced the rows in your first part, make sure that the next row that you're going to make for section 2 is on the right side. You understand why this is so when we continue with row 2. For those joining us, the list of the materials will be added into the description box, and the written tutorial can also be seen on my blog, which is free. So I chain 2. That's the end of row 1. Row 2, we've add our chain 2, and we'll be using the first loop. We'll be working 1 double crochet in each stitch across. So this part, I want you to pay attention to see how I'll name the loops. Can you see this 2, this and this? Normally we work into this when we're making our stitches, but now the first loop will refer to this. First loop, this is the front loop, and this is the back loop. So because you have the wrong side facing you, to know the wrong side, you see we made our petals and the bubbles on the right side. The wrong side doesn't have petals. The wrong side facing you, you have into each of these loops, first loop each. This will, you see when I make the first loop, the first few loops, why we do that. So we're working a double crochet in each of the stitches across, but into the first loop. Can you see the bridge that it made? And one other thing, if you're working with 2 colors, you change color at this point. As I stated earlier, I want the tutorial in a plain color. So in the first loop, we're working double crochet in each of the stitches. This is what it looks like on the wrong side, and on the right side it looks like this. So I'll continue that to the end of the row. I'm at the end of the row, and I've worked into the first loop of each of the stitches, and that's giving me a beautiful braid on the right side. Can you see that? Great. So we'll move to the next row, row 3, and we'll chain 2. We'll work in double crochet in the first stitch, because the turning chains do not count as a stitch throughout the pattern. So we work in a crossed double crochet, which means that you skip the next stitch, insert your hook into the next stitch, and make a double crochet. Crocheting over the double crochet made, work into the skip stitch. This is what it looked like making a V stitch, but there are no chain. So skip the next stitch, work in a double crochet into the next stitch. There's a skip stitch, can you see that? Skip stitch in here. we'll work in a double crochet over the double crochet that has just been made into the skip stitch, and that's what we'll repeat to the end of the row. I'll make one more, skip next stitch, double crochet into the next stitch, skip, walking into the skip stitch. Can you see that? This is what we'll repeat to the end of the row, and I'll be back to show you how mine looks. Right, this is what I have at the end of the row. You have skip stitches and you've worked over the previous double crochet. So this is how it looks. It's a beautiful texture stitch. So we turn and proceeding to row 4, chain 2, cross double crochet in each of the stitch across to the last stitch, and you work in double crochet in the last stitch. So skip 4 stitch, double crochet into the next stitch, working over the double crochet made, work a double crochet in the skip stitch, skip next stitch, double crochet into the next, working over this double crochet, make another double crochet. So we'll repeat this to the last stitch, and we'll make a double crochet in the last stitch. Right, I'm at the last stitch. Remember, we made in a double crochet into that because we have odd numbers of chain. So we'll work in a double crochet into the last stitch. This is what it looks like. And you turn, you work in a double crochet into this first stitch and cross double crochet into the next. So we keep on repeating rows 3 and 4 till we have a desired number of rows or desired measurement. I've indicated the number of rows for each of these sizes in the free tutorial linked in the description below. So I'll move to the last row for this part. After you've worked the desired number of rows of cross double crochet stitches, you continue with to the last row, which is double crochet, chain 2, double crochet in each of the stitches across. So let me know if the videos are helpful. Obviously just trying to get an angle of it. Not yet my fault doing videos. Great, so I'm done with double crochet in each of the stitches across. Now we turn and we make our turning chain, chain 2. Right, we're replicating what we did here to have this braid. So you work into the first loop and you work a double crochet into each of the stitches. Remember, I showed you what the first loop looks like. The first loop, can you see? So work in a double crochet into each of the stitches across. So once I'm done with this row, I'll be back to show you what the braid looks like. Can you see it's forming already? Right, this is what it looks like after working into the first loop, and we have a braid corresponding to what we had when we started the row. So we'll work, if you changing color to something, another color at this point, now is the time to fasten off your previous color and join the next color, so that will make the next section. So for those that are following the tutorial, the video alone, you will need to work the number of rows corresponding to your desired blankets. I've indicated the rows in the written description, the written pattern in the description. I'm sorry. We'll go to the next row, which is the part 2 of section 2. Row 1, we'll work in half double crochet in each of the stitch, chain 2, half double crochet in each stitch across. So this is fairly easy. I'll continue the half double crochet until the end of the row. Right, this is the end of the row. We'll turn and proceed to row 2, chain 2, I've chained one before, work in treble stitch. Now this row uses treble and single crochet. So treble, that means you have 2 yarn over your hook twice. Insert hook into the first stitch and work your first treble stitch. So to work treble stitch, pull up the first 2 loops. You have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull up the next 2 loops, yarn over, and pull up the remaining 2. So single crochet in the next stitch, treble stitch in the next, pull up the first 2 loops, yarn over, next 2 loops, yarn over, and the next 2. Single crochet in the next stitch, treble stitch in the next stitch. So this is what you repeat till the end of the row. So single crochet, treble, single crochet, treble. That's what will be alternating to the end of the row. I'm at the end of the row now. So this is what it looks like. You can see some little beautiful spikes. Can you see them? Those are the trebles with single crochet in between them. So to produce the beautiful texture, you want to make sure that you work treble on single crochet. So now we finish the row with a treble stitch. We'll be starting with a single crochet. So we chain 1 and we'll work single crochet in the first stitch, treble in the next stitch. You know, this is a treble stitch, this is a treble stitch, single crochet, single crochet. So you're working treble on this stitch, single crochet in the next stitch, we worked single crochet. Now we'll be working in a treble in the next stitch. Sorry, I think I've made a mistake. So this is a treble, single crochet. Yeah, a treble now. Yeah, single crochet in the next stitch. So this is what we will repeat. We're working a treble into this next stitch and a single crochet into the next stitch. I'm at the end of the row and I finished with a single crochet. That means I'll be starting the next stitch with a treble in the first stitch. You have to work like 5-6 rounds before you can appreciate the spike, the beautiful texture. So we chain 2 and we work in treble in the first stitch, single crochet in the next stitch, treble in the next stitch. So I work in a single crochet into this stitch, treble into this, single crochet, treble, single crochet. This is what I'll be repeating. When I'm done with this row, I will go back and repeat the next row, which is row 3. You alternate the 2 rows, single crochet, treble. The next row will be treble, single crochet for the beautiful texture. This is what it looks like when you've worked some rows for this with this stitch combination, and you'll notice that the spikes made with the treble with single crochet made in between. To know the number of rows that you've made, you need to count from both sides. So for this particular project, let me count the number of rows I made. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then I'll turn to the wrong side, to the other side, and count this number also and multiply. Add the 2 together. That gives us the number of rows that I've made. It can be challenging to count the number of rows for this type of stitch. So be on the lookout for the next section in 2 weeks' time. Remember to join the Facebook group linked in the description below to show your projects, and if you have questions or you need clarifications, you are welcome to ask your questions in the group. Thank you. Bye. Welcome, friends. Today we'll continue on the second section of crochet along, and today we'll be making the part 2, which are this part and this part. Last 2 weeks, we started with the first part, first section. We did this part, these 2 parts, and today I'll be making a short video showing you how I crocheted these 2 parts.
Today's video will be a short one and uses much simpler method than the first section. I know some people had difficulties making the petals, but for those that made this, that I've seen in the Facebook group, they were all beautiful and I love them. So if you have not joined the group, I will add the description to the link to the description below. Please make sure you do so. Check it out and join us.